Hello, this morning I had a little bit of tech difficulties, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to skip the streaming service that we use to stream to multiple locations, and I'm just going to come straight live from here in Facebook. So if you are joining me, good morning. Let me know that you're here. I always want to know who's with me here when we are having these conversations. And I will also be going in and popping this into our business page as well as YouTube. But alas, you know what? We adapt and overcome. So because, my friend, it's official, you're awesome. And I'm telling this to myself as well. Right? Because we are so good at adapting and overcoming. And you know what? Tech didn't work the way I wanted it to this morning, but no worries. You know me. I'm going to just plow through and make sure that we are getting ourselves going. Good. Well, I would say good morning to you, Genevieve, but I know that it's evening for you because you are in Ireland. So hello. Say hello. Let me know that you're here. But today I wanted to talk about tone matters, right? We rely increasingly on text and email to communicate, and while we do that because it feels like it's so much easier and that's where we are right now as a society, what I also know is that tone can get lost, right? Because when you read something in text or in an email, you don't get to see the person's facial expressions. You don't get to hear the inflection of their voice. You don't get to see the hand gestures that give us all the social clues that we need to know what they mean by those words. Right? And so many times it's so easy for us to react to an email or a text because we don't know tone. And the truth of the matter is that this isn't just about our business. My goodness, y'all, this could happen with your spouse. This could happen with a friend or a family member where you get something and you read it, you're like, oh. Right? But then after you take a step back and you maybe continue the conversation or talk with them, you're like, oh, that wasn't really what they meant. Right? It's so easy for that to happen. And so today I want to dive into why tone matters and how do we make sure that we are being objective when it comes to this, and things that we can do ourselves to really make sure that we're coming at it from a loving place. Because I'll tell you, I've been guilty. I have been absolutely guilty of answering back in a snarky way when I'm like, I've told this person 6 times already. Right? Like, as per the previous email, you guys, before I even jump into this, can I just say that when we write those words, as per previous email, as per conversation, let's be real. What tone is that? It's kind of snarky. It's kind of like, why are you asking me this? It's kind of it doesn't diffuse the situation. It doesn't really help anything. Now, whilst it might make you feel better in the moment, right? The truth of the matter is that probably is not the right phrase to start with, right? So, hey there, Lisa. I'm so glad that you're joining me. So, y'all, as you're joining us, say, Erin, what's up? Let me know that you're here. I always love to know who is here with me. And as we're going through today, here's the deal. If there's a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, Erin, that tip totally resonated with me, I want you to drop a hashtag takeaway and tell me what the tip was. Or tell me what your favorite tip is today, because I'm actually going to go through 5 tips that will help you in having more effective communication when it comes to in your studios, right? And so before we dive into this conversation, I want us to kind of set our frame of mind, right? In that when we are approaching those emails or those texts that we receive, and you read it, and your first thing is you have this reactionary pull. I want you to think like, can I understand this message in a different way before you process and move forward? Okay, so that is something that I would like us to kind of think about and to lead with as we are moving in. And so, y'all, if you are new here, hey there, Mindy, I'm so glad that you're joining us. If you are new here to Teach Preschool Dance, I'm Erin Burd. I am your hostess with the mostest of Teach Preschool Dance, and I work with dance studio owners and educators to grow their businesses without the overwhelm, without the burnout, without sacrificing their personal lives, and to really create their own unique vision of success. And so I am so glad to have you here and be part of our community and Teach Preschool Dance. And I'm ready to get this party started. And hey, if you know somebody else who needs to hear this message today, you need to sprinkle the love, right? You need to sprinkle the love because we're all better together, and we know as a community that that we can all hear this message sometimes. Because how many times, let me know in the comments, how many times have you been inside a Facebook group or a forum and you see and you read those messages or those posts about people like, I don't understand why parents never read anything, or how come da 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 da, and right, and there is something in bouncing off ideas and talking about others, but we don't need to, it's sometimes, I don't know. I know we like to commiserate, but the truth of the matter is that we love our families and our students, right? And so even though sometimes it can be annoying or it could feel like you're totally a broken record, right? The truth of the matter is that I come from a place of gratitude and being so grateful that I have those families and I have those students to be able to lovingly communicate with them. Okay, so here's the deal. I had it set up so fancy in Be Live, but we're going to be simple and easy today. So today I have 5 tips that I want to dive into with you. So let me know in the comments, have you ever been on a forum and seen one of those, oh my gosh, posts about parents not reading emails, or, they ask you the same questions over and over again, or you get an email and you don't know how to react to it. Oh, even worse, y'all. I've seen it happen before. Here's sassy Erin coming out for a moment. How many times in one of these groups have you seen someone screenshot a conversation that they had with a parent, student, yada, 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 and they posted in for opinions, right? But they don't block out the person's name or phone number or, right, like contextual clues. Guys, make sure, if you're going to do that, because we're going to talk about right now, the first thing is, yes, get a third-party view when you have some of those. But please, for the love of all that's good, block out the person's name, phone number. Okay. There's my rant. Rant over. Tone matters. Y'all, in for it today. So, the first thing is, yes, let's get a third-party view. So when you have one of those messages, or you have those texts come in, or those emails come in, and you're not quite sure how to respond, get a third-party view. But, y'all, do not color the other person's view. Don't project your feelings to the person you're asking for their advice, because your tone matters. So if you give them more than just the backstory, you give them your feelings, you give them, right, all of that, you are clouding that objective person's view, right? Because you're giving them all your feelings. They cannot be objective when you have clouded and colored their view. Okay? So it's really important. And let's be 100% honest. If you get one of those emails that are about money or about time in some fashion, right? We could be kind of reactionary, and we could, it might not be from a happy place when we get those, right? And so one of the things that I really love to do, especially if you have one that you're like, ooh, I implement the 24-hour rule, right? Sometimes it's really great, or it's really important for us to know that, number one, you do not need to respond right that moment. Y'all, and especially, y'all know it, sometimes you might get that email at like 10 o'clock at night, or if you get a text or something like late at night. You want to respond in a way right away because you're like a little bit angry. You're like, they're overstepping boundaries. They're right, like there's all these things, and so we want to be reactionary. We want to like, respond. But the truth of the matter is that you should not respond if it comes at like 10 o'clock at night. Let's be real. 2, you do not have to respond right away. Now, I do believe in responding within 24 hours, but give yourself time to take a step back, get clarity on it, not send out a message, a text, an email in haste and anger, right? Give yourself time to just sit with it for a moment before we respond, right? I think the 24-hour rule is, oh my gosh, yay, yes. Hello, Christine. Honey, yes, 24-hour rule, 100%. We do not have to answer right away. We don't, right? And here's the other thing. If you don't want that to be the expectation that you're going to answer right away, don't answer right away, right? What we allow continues. So if you allow parents to email you at 10 o'clock and expect a response, it will continue. Just saying. You guys, I feel like I'm coming across, I'm a little sassy today. That's what to say. I don't know. Okay, so let's go into the second tip real quick. Second tip is ditch the text and the email. And what do I mean by that? So sometimes, y'all, you might go back and forth between a text and an email, and it feels like you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and like, yet you're never coming to a conclusion or a solution, right? Because you're going back and forth, and all the while, we don't really know the tone. We've made up a story about the tone, maybe, right? And so here's where, as much as I know you may hate me to say this, right? Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and call. I know sometimes if you're an introvert, you're like, no, Erin, I don't want to do that. I just would rather just like do a text because, then I don't have to like hear their voice. Or if you know you're going to see them, right? Like later that day at the studio, then have an in-person conversation. Oh, gasp, dare I say it. Have an in-person conversation, right? Call. It's easy for us to in the middle of like this going back and forth and say, hey, why don't we just talk about this today when you come in? Why don't you come in? Are you able to come in like 5 minutes early and we can just chat about it? Because I know it won't take more than 5 minutes to come up with a solution. Right? I can't wait. And then I can't wait to see you. Smiley face. Not I can't wait to see you. Right? Like, that's the key. We need to make it positive, right? Or the call, same thing. If you're a text and email and you're like, hey, this would really be easier if we just had a true, like, good old-fashioned conversation. Say that. Like, hey, do you have 5 minutes to jump on the phone so we can handle this and, like, make us have a solution? It'll only take less than 5 minutes, right? Instead of you drawing out this conversation all throughout the day, feeling about it, right? Why not do that? Yes, 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 maintaining our boundaries. So, ditch the text and the email, y'all. If you're not getting anywhere through those text and email, right? Or, I don't know, what other kush? Oh, like private message, DM, I don't know how they're communicating with you, right? But if it's not where you can hear their inflection or see their voice, maybe we need to ditch it, right? Maybe we need to ditch it. Okay, so going into our third tip, don't assume you know, because you know what assuming does, right? But don't assume you know how they're feeling. Don't assume you know what the tone is, right? Because without those social cues, or hearing the inflection in their voice, or seeing what their face is saying to you, we don't really know, right? And we could totally mistake tone. Can I tell you guys a little story? Like, my husband sent me a text this the other day, literally in all caps. And I was like, why is he yelling at me about this? That was my first response. Like, why is he yelling at me? And so then I was like angry. So silly. I was so angry about it. I'm like, why did he yell at me about this? This is so lame, right? And so I responded, I'm like, why are you yelling at me? He's like, I'm not yelling at you. And I'm like, it's in all caps. He was like, I've got gloves on at work, and I must have hit the button, and I didn't realize, and I just sent it. How silly, right? But I like assumed he was yelling at me because he used all caps when really he was like, my fat thumbs in these gloves caused me to write in all caps. So don't assume, because you know what assuming does. Y'all, you know what assuming does. Okay. So, we've been through 3. Let's go to the 4th one. All right. This is one that's helped me, and I hope that it will help you. Write like you're talking to blank. Insert a person. So for me, someone that you really love and care for. So when I'm thinking like about writing an email, and let's be honest, like your students and your families are people that you should love and care about, right? But like I always change it up, and I think about like if I were writing to my granny, right? Number one, it's going to be more in a loving tone, and it's because I respect my grandmother, I love my grandmother, and words matter, right? And so I may take a few more moments to think about what I'm writing if I were writing to my granny, my dear old granny, than if I'm responding to my husband in all caps. Right, y'all? I mean, now, here's the reason why. And it kind of goes, oh, y'all. Anybody else do that? Okay. But it goes back to the intention and my inner motive. It changes a little bit when I think about writing like I'm talking to insert that person, right, in your life. And it changes things. It's, I might not be as snarky to my grandmama, right? And so if you could think about that, it will absolutely change your intention and your inner motive when it comes to your communication. Yeah? And then the 5th and final tip for today, before I tell you about something awesome that's coming up, is here's the deal. Actually, can I give you a bonus tip too? Because it just like popped in my brain and I was thinking about it. Okay, so number 1, I'm going to give you the bonus tip in a minute. But number 5 was read and reread your emails before you send them. Period, the end. And you could go back to having that third party person, your spouse, maybe a trusted friend. I have my business BFFs, right? Other really amazing businesswomen who I'll say, hey, like, Lori, can you check this out, like, before I send it? Because I want to get your opinion on how it sounds, the tone that you read it in, right? Because you know me. And here's the thing. Your people will read your emails and your texts in your voice, right? Like when they read it, it's almost like you're saying it to them. And so, that being said, what voice are they reading it in? Are they reading it in per my previous email, right, sassy, or per the previous email, we have rehearsal on da 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 da. How are they reading it? Because although the words were the same, the tones that they read it in were two very different things, right? So I always say, read and reread and go back to that third-party view, right? For your stuff that you're sending out. I have a bonus tip, but before I do that, because it just popped in my head, and it's all about getting parents to read your stuff. So I'm going to give you actually two. Can I give you two bonus tips? Do y'all mind? I hope not. Okay, but before I do that, I want to tell you guys, I've actually had quite a few conversations this last couple weeks with studio owners telling me that, number one, they stop enrollment in February because, hello, recitals, and they're like, costumes are, we know how costumes are this year, how we're feeling about costuming, all of the things, recital prep, and so they stop enrollment in February. But then they feel like they start to get on the struggle bus when it comes to cash flow, because they're like, then I got to pay out for all the things. I'm paying for the recital. I'm paying all these fees and expenses, and right? And so they feel like they're on this cash flow roller coaster. And so because they stop enrollment in February. So what I've decided to do is I am going to do a bonus training this month, but I wanted to do it where it's like super easy and relaxed, right? So this weekend, I am going to do a new training. It's 3 easy ways to add money to your bank account right now. And we're going to do it all inside Facebook Messenger. You only need like 10 to 15 minutes a day. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to drop those inside Messenger. I'm going to drop a quick video, right, to talk about the one of the things that you can do so you can go out and implement. And I'll be coming in. You can ask all your questions inside Facebook Messenger, inside that group, and I'll come in and answer them all for you. So if you want to be part of that, in the comments below, drop cash, right? And I will get you added to that free training this weekend on how you can add money to your bank account right now, even if you have stopped enrollment for this season. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. Now, are y'all ready for those bonus tips? Yes, 2 extra tips. Okay, so when it comes to sending out communications to your families, bonus tip number 1, can we not have verbal word vomit and like try to tell them all the things at once? I see this happen so many times where, let's say you're giving them all, yes, I'm seeing cash coming in, awesome. We say, okay, here's all the information you need to know about recital. And it's like, y'all, it's like word vomit. And you've written this whole long thing with the expectation that they're going to read it and retain it all. And then you start to get questions about recital. And you get frustrated because you're like, it's in the email that I sent you about all the things recital. Friends, can I tell you that we have to learn to send out bite-sized information and tell them the rest is coming soon? Because parents are so busy and they have so much information coming at them that they can only retain so much at once. And if you send out one email about all things recital with the expectation that they are going to retain it all, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you are going to be the ones who are going to be answering all the questions. What if, instead of sending them all the info at once, we broke it down into bite-sized chunks? And we did something with it that made it exciting for them to read those bite-sized pieces of information, right? Sometimes I create contests around it, and we put, if there's important info that you need your parents to know, you have to make it fun and engaging and exciting. Hide Easter eggs inside of it. Create contests, create things, do things that is going to make them excited to read your communication. But let me tell you, if you send them an email that has all the things recital and nothing fun for them, like seeing a picture of their child, possibly, or kids in the studio, or creating something fun and exciting about, maybe you have a contest where the person who, reads the email and they enter in, and maybe they get a fun prize at recital, right? Like, how do we make things fun and exciting for them to read? Because if they're not, and it feels like all this information, it's totally can be overwhelming. And to give you another quick little story, if you don't mind, last night I had to go to my daughter's parent night for her going into high school. First of all, I'm not ready for a high schooler, y'all. I was not prepared. Last night it was a mama moment of she's gonna be in high school. But it was so much information, it was actually really overwhelming for me and for my daughter, because they were like, well, you need to decide by next Tuesday her path for the next 4 years and beyond high school. And they had all this information about, well, what's required for graduation, what's required to get into UC or state school, what's required to get into, there was all of these things. And if I'm being honest, it was a bit overwhelming. And today, I'm walking away thinking, my gosh, I need to go back and break these into smaller bite-sized bits so I feel comfortable with it and understand, so then I can help my child make the best decisions possible moving forward. Because there has to be a path, apparently. Who would have thought it, right? So think about it in those sort of terms. And if you give them all the info at once, it might be overwhelming, and they might only retain 2 or 3 bits of it when you gave them 10. So scale it back a little bit, y'all. So that's bonus tip number 1. And bonus tip number 2 is, y'all, I keep looking at this. Bonus tip number 2. Think about how your parents are communicating. And because there's so much noise, right? When it comes to social media, when it comes to email, when it comes, there's so much noise, text. And so we have to over-communicate. Over-communicate. As unfortunate as it is, right? We have to over-communicate. And what I mean by that is we have to give them love taps everywhere they go. So yes, does it feel redundant? Does it feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again in all these different places? Yes, it probably does. But we send out the email because some people learn through email. We send out a text because some people respond better to text. We have messages on a TV screen in the lobby, going through those things, through all those important bits, but sprinkled in with pictures and videos and things that they actually want to see, right? Things that they want to see. And then we also have to think about people learn in different ways. So maybe it is you shooting a quick video. Hey guys, I'm coming in to talk about XYZ. Real quick, think about like short form video. Like, why do you think TikToks and Reels and stuff are so popular? Because people like those bite-sized 1-minute bits of information. So think about how your people learn. And I know it might feel like, why do I have to do all the things? Why can't they just read the email? But it's not fair, because not everybody learns through email. Right? So for us to set ourselves up for success and not feel angry and frustrated and upset that these people aren't reading their emails, think about it in this way. Set yourself up for success, create expectations that are realistic, and don't assume you know. Goes back to tip number 3, right? Life gets busy, things happen. And y'all, can I tell you, a couple weeks ago when I had COVID, or my whole family had COVID, I missed a couple emails. I did. And it took me a while to get back. And oh my gosh, that's bonus tip number 3 that I didn't even write down or think about. Just because maybe it takes a while, maybe you send an email and they don't respond back right away or within 24 hours or 3 days or whatever, don't assume it's about you and the story. Maybe they're sick and their whole family has COVID. So they just haven't gotten to you. It's not about you. You guys, I'm feeling a little bit sassy after today's with my tone, right? But let me know. I want to know in the comments, #takeaway, what was your favorite tip? And let's do a quick recap so we can talk about it and you can know what was your favorite tip. Okay, so today, tone matters, right? Communication through email and text. It's great, it's fast, we love it, but sometimes it leaves a gap in knowing the tone and what people are saying. And so I've got a few tips that I had ready for you, and I even threw in a few bonus tips. But number 1 is get a third-party view. Don't color that third party's view with your own feelings. Don't project your feelings about the situation, because we want them to be objective. The second tip is ditch the text and the email, y'all. If it's not working and you're not coming to a solution and you're going back and forth and you're dragging it out all day, call or say, hey, I'm going to see you at the studio later today. Why don't we spend 5 minutes and chat about it? I can't wait to see you. My goodness, you can solve the problem and come up with the solution like that. The third tip is don't assume that you know, right? Because we know what assuming does. So don't assume you know how they're feeling. Don't assume you know what the tone is, right? Because we don't see the hand gestures. We don't see the facial expression. We don't hear the inflection. And those are social cues to know people's tone, right? And so the fourth tip is write like you're talking to, insert the person's name. And for me, it's my granny, right? Because I love her and I respect her, and I would never send her a snarky text or email or message, right? Because I absolutely adore her and respect her so much. And so I want to make sure that I choose my words carefully, even if she does something that maybe annoyed me or we may not agree upon. But I take the time because it changes my inner motive, it changes my intention if I think about it in that way. So if we could take that and absolutely, go forward when we're writing our communication, then hey, I think that's a great way of going about it. And number 5 is read and reread your emails or text before you send them. Don't hit that send button in anger and haste, right? Like, take a moment. Go to the 24-hour rules, right? Take a moment. Set in it. Have some clarity. Oh my goodness. #takeaway. I love the idea of sending bite-sized bits of info concept instead of all the things at once. Yes, Mindy, it's a total game changer. And you will see that parents will actually retain their information, right? Oh my gosh, Lisa, the last tip, so helpful. Over communicate, but in different ways. Yes, yes, yes. So good at using multiple intelligences with our kids, but we can absolutely do that with our parent communication too. Yes, 100%. So my friends, if you enjoyed today's broadcast and you got some takeaways from it, then y'all, don't be afraid to share with your friends. And I'm going to come back in and I'll be chatting in the comments just like you know. And even if you come back in on the replay, I want to have this conversation with you as well. So, y'all, sprinkle the love. Tag someone in the group that you know might need to use this message or hear about this communication tips. And y'all, we've got that free training coming up this weekend on 3 easy ways to add cash to your bank account now. That is going to be amazing. And next week, y'all, it's been coming up. And I'm so excited because I have a special guest coming on next week. And we are going to chat all about classroom management in your preschool and tiny tot classes, what we can do there, some tips, some tricks, some strategies, and also how can we apply these to recitals and shows and prepping our students. And so I absolutely know it's going to be a great one. So I hope that we will see you all next Wednesday, same time, same place, for more amazing business tips and strategies and classroom management skills, and just reminding you that, hey, do what brings you joy, because that's what this life is all about, right? And until then, stay you, stay awesome, and I cannot wait to see you guys either this weekend inside that training in Facebook Messenger, and of course next week for our broadcast. So I'm going to leave you there. Have a fantastic week, my friends, and I will see y'all very, very soon. Bye, guys.